Okay, this is our start of our short story unit test. Remember to do your best, go through what you can, and then I will sit with you one-on-one to finish the rest. Looking at our literary terms, we have setting, theme, protagonist, antagonist, conflict, climax, foreshadowing, and dramatic irony. Our definitions that we're going to match are number 1, life message presented in the story. 2, the reader or audience knows something that the characters do not know. 3, the main character. 4, the high point of interest when the conflict is resolved or not. 5, hints or clues to allow the reader to predict the outcome. And 6, the opposing force to the main character. 7, the time and place of the story. And number 8, the problem of the main character must confront and solve. Okay, looking at our next section and match the specific example from one story to the literary terms. A, the Sakaros family is eating dozens of cotton candy sticks. That's an example of setting, conflict, foreshadowing, or climax. B, London, 1863 is an example of setting, conflict, foreshadowing, or climax. C, the narrator confesses by revealing the old man's remains beneath the floorboards. Is that an example of setting, conflict, foreshadowing, or climax? Or D, getting the cobra safely out of the dining room without anyone being hurt. Is that an example of setting, conflict, foreshadowing, or climax? Question 3. In The Landlady, Billy Weaver can't quite remember what important information. A, how the landlady's animals are preserved. B, why names of Christopher Mulholland and Gregory Templeton seem so familiar to him. Or C, where the pub is located. Question 4. In the Adventures of the Speckled Band, which of the following is not a reason why the coroner could not determine how Julia Stover died? Is not a reason. A, the snake's fang marks would have been extremely small to observe. B, the snake's venom was one that could not be detected by chemical test. Or C, both girls remarked about hearing a low, clear whistle. Which is the following is not a reason the coroner could not determine how Julia Stover died. Okay, next question. In Rain, Rain, Go Away, Lillian Wright is frustrated because she does not know why her new neighbors go in whenever a cloud appears. Eat so much cotton candy, react strangely when offered a drink, and constantly listen to the weather forecast. At the end of the story, we find out exactly why. What is the reason for the strange behavior by the Sikora family? What is the reason for the strange behavior by the Sikora family? Okay, I've added in a sentence starter here for you. That's the reason why the Sikora family behaves so strangely. And continue that sentence to answer that prompt, 1 to 2 sentences. Number 6. Identify one specific reason from the story that you could use as a defense attorney to convince a jury that the narrator from The Telltale Heart is insane and should not be put to death for the old man's murder? Okay, look at a sentence starter here for us with The Telltale Heart. Remember, the question is, identify one reason as a defense attorney could convince the jury that the narrator from Telltale Heart is insane and should not be put to death. So our start sentences here is, in The Telltale Heart, the narrator shows he is insane by. You need to complete that thought in 1 to 2 sentences. Okay. In the dinner party, the hostess, Mrs. Wyans, demonstrates the most self-control and conclusively proves woman can respond with great poise in a stressful situation when she A. disagrees with the colonel about women screaming, B. tells the Indian servant to put a saucer of milk outside, or C. does not react when she feels a cobra crawling across her foot. Question 8. In The Lonely One, Ray Bradbury uses numerous techniques, elements to build suspense. What is one example that is not a suspenseful element Bradbury used in the story? A. An isolated, lonely setting. B. A protagonist who tempts fate or acts irrationally. Or C. A gruesome, horrific creature. Question 9 from our. You're going to go in the folder, in the short story folder. There's a folder titled Test. And there I put Fetch and the Landlady. So you're going to pause again and go listen to the story Fetch. And then come back. Identify the setting in the story Fetch. Here we have a sentence starter. The setting for the story Fetch is, and answer response to the rest of that prompt in your Schoology test. What is George Dixon's main conflict? What's the main problem facing George as our story starts? Getting the job that he is interviewing for. B, making sure Werner doesn't know the truth. Or C, dealing with an annoying dog. Next, question 11. What does complication mean, and what is one that arises in Fetch? So 2 parts to this question. What does complication mean, and what is one that arises in the story Fetch? A minor problem that makes the conflict more difficult. Werner won't listen to George. B, strange things that happen. The dog drools on George's jacket. Or C, the minor problem that makes the conflict more difficult. Werner's Great Dane jumps out the 17th floor window. Okay, question number 12. Using the story Fetch and the story The Dinner Party. We're going to have two stories here. Answer the following question in a well-constructed extended response. Both stories feature characters who show courage in the face of adversity as a difficult situation. Name a character from each story who shows courage, and using specific evidence from each story, explain how each character demonstrates courage. Make sure you clearly introduce the topic and make sure you provide adequate closure to your response. That's your concluding sentence. All writing conventions, complete sentences, spelling, punctuation, usage, and capitalization matter. Okay, so let's look at a couple sentence starters here. In Fetch, George Dixon shows courage by, and in The Dinner Party, Mrs. Wyme shows courage by. Complete these sentences, 1 and 2 sentences, with specific example how they displayed courage.